Hello everyone. Thanks for coming, and it's my honor to be here. And thanks for having me. I'm Andy. I'm an engineer from Quantstamp, and at Quantstamp we are like the security company. So today we'll be talking about like how we at Quantstamp help secure like the past, present, and future, and just share some stories, interesting stories we had from our experience. So who are we? We are a security company. We try to secure the future of Web3. And as a security company, we are very lucky. We can get involved with different kind of clients. A lot of them are top projects within this industry. And we are also a global team. So we work remotely. Like all of our coworkers are from different places around the world. I think it's probably the same for a lot of like blockchain companies. And last, we're probably one of the earliest smart contract auditing firms, and we're also trying to continuously improving ourselves. And that's what we're trying to share today. So as the old wisdom said, the best defense is a good offense. As a product developer or as a product or as a protocol company, like the way you want to get your user is you must make sure your user can trust your product or your protocols. So you need to make sure your security is of the highest standard, so like user will be able to be comfortable interacting with your protocol or your product. And to do that, that's what we're trying to serve. We provide audit services. That's our core service. So we usually do audit for smart contracts. It includes like, for instance, like NFT, DeFi, and a lot of things. And today is an Ethereum conference, so a lot of them will be in Solidity. Aside from smart contract, we also help like auditing things like the layer 1 blockchain itself. For instance, these are some of the audit we did for the East 1.0 clients. Also, we also help like wallet or like key management things as well. Aside from that, we not only do audit for like Ethereum, we also help like Solana, like we did like their system contract audit, and also a lot of layer 1 or layer 2s. Like we also help Boba to do their optimistic ROB audit as well. And we also usually treat our client as a friend. As a friend, we help. So we try to increase our impact, not just from auditing. There are times like client would come to us that they are not sure what's the best way to implement things. And that's how we come to help, because we were able to look at other protocols or how other people do. So we can, for instance, help them figure out like what's the best algorithm to do. So there's a by personal experience, like one day we have a client. They come to us, they're trying to write a staking smart contract. So as people probably know what staking usually is, like you provide your liquidity, and then whenever there's a reward, like you get certain reward depending on your portions of liquidity. And at that time, the client, when they come to us, we're immediately like, oh, this looks a bit weird, because the way they're sharing the reward was like they run a for loop. They just run through all the stakers that's registered, and they give them the reward. So it's like immediately we're like, this would have some gas issue. And that's the time we're helping them. We're trying to help them like, so we see a lot of other DeFis, how they use it's like if people is developing in DeFi, they know it's usually using like reward per share algorithm. And that's why we share with them. We tell them like, hey, actually there's a blog telling how you do this algorithm. And there's even sample codes. And if the client eventually update their algorithm, and then we were able to finish our audit. Another interesting story is from like we have a optimist ROB clients. So not sure if you're familiar with layer 2 or not, but whenever you're bridging things from layer 1 to layer 2 or layer 2 to layer 1, you have like different kind of messages that have to be relayed from either from layer 1 to layer 2 or vice versa. However, usually the protocol team would help to do that, but it is super expensive. As you can imagine, like all the transactions, I mean, they're layer 2, but sometimes if they want to bridge things back to layer 1, those messages or those transactions, they're helping you to relay back to layer 1, and they have to pay the gas fee for that. So we are discussing like how we can solve this, and we also try to provide some potential solutions, because I think currently there is no perfect answer for this yet. So that's another interesting stories we had from we are helping out our like friends and clients. So as a security firm, we're very lucky. We have able to like look at so many different kind of things, and we're able to get enough. And also we have to keep ourselves alerted with different kind of hack or exploit during the period. And so we were able to learn a lot of things from the past. So one of the really like epic things we participated before was the Makerdale Black Thursday. Not sure if anyone here was still in this industry in that time. It was a few years ago. It was like I think 3 years ago, 2020 March. So what happened at that day was like there was a time like I think it was a bear market, but it started to get up, and then all of a sudden Ethereum in the day like dropped around like 40% in the price, and that itself it doesn't break things yet. But then the problem was like, I think nowadays all the gas are super expensive if you are interacting with like Ethereum right now. But during that past years, the gas fee was actually pretty cheap. Like 5 GWay was like the normal, and 10 GWay is already like, oh, that's expensive. I think nowadays if you're interacting, it's like, oh, 10, that's freaking cheap. So it was the opposite situation compared to now. So what happened that there was the price drop so fast on the market. So everybody is trying to either like run away from exchange, or they're trying to do whatever things they think is better for them to hedge the risk. So there's a lot of transactions happening on the Ethereum at that single day. So what happens, like the gas price suddenly goes up from a very low level. And then when the price goes up, it starts to break things that's off-chain, which was like people wasn't imagining. So the first thing that started to have an issue was their oracles. And Oracle was kind of like the backbone of the infrastructure of DeFi, if people would know. So because you need the Oracle to provide the price on chain, otherwise the smart contract on chain wouldn't know how to get those things. So what happened at that time was like the gas price goes so far, the Oracle wasn't able to send their transactions to the chain to update the price. So the price keep saying like the old level, and then all of a sudden when the Oracle transactions eventually get in, the price drops so fast, it started to break all the healthy threshold for the MakerDAO. Oh wait. So how MakerDAO work is like they have a lot of collaterals, and they use collaterals to mint their DAI. And so when it dropped their healthy threshold, those collaterals would be sent into an auction for sale. It goes like you're lacking money. You need more money to cover your DAI. And so that's how it started, because Oracle price couldn't get in, and then when they get in, boom, like a lot of things just start to break. And once those auctions go into there's another thing start to break the same way because of the gas price. So MakerDAO did provide some software for the users to run, and then so they can automatically beat those auctions to buy those collaterals when they're liquidated. But the problem is, like those software also have the gas price issue. They set a gas limit that's not high enough for them to get through this kind of situations. So those bidding transactions wouldn't pass through as well during auctions. And until one attacker realized this, and so the only thing he did is he just increased his gas price, and he do a very like weird bid. It's just like he's buying ETH with 0 DAI, and it started to went through. And a few attackers also realized this, and then all of them start to attack in this way, because all the other people who's using the original MakerDAO software, they just couldn't went through their bid. So only those bidders just buying with 0 DAI went through, and all the Ethereum from the MakerDAO collateral just been kind of stolen, but although they're just following the protocol. So that was what happened during the MakerDAO Black Thursday. And it was around like, I think 8 million of loss for the protocol itself. It doesn't look that bad compared to a lot of current hacks, but it was a very huge one during that period of time. Specifically, like it was before the DeFi summer, or just around the DeFi summer. So to solve this, eventually there's a community group called the DAI Backstop Syndicate. They're trying to sort of, come here and try to resolve this problem. So they come up with a solution, which is they mint more Maker tokens, like their governance token. So they mint their governance token and to do auction for their governance token to try to compensate those collaterals. However, just in case if that doesn't work, because they set a very huge limit, I think it was like 50K. Unless you're buying 50K of those tokens, then you can't really participate. So in case those wouldn't work out for to enable like the retail users to participate in this kind of auctions, there's a group called Syndicate, and they provide a syndicate contract. And so during that time, what Quantstamp helped was like they had this. We joined this group of community people, and then they have this contract, and we immediately audited it. So I think the hack was happening on the 24th, if I remember correctly, and then this contract was audited just 1 week within a week. So it was a very fast reaction. I mean, the things still happen. The hack is still like loss is lost, but I think all the other process, especially this is from the community, it went through like pretty fast. Yeah. So that was the first one we were to talk about, and the second one of another historical event we used to help was like the voltage finance. So we didn't really help directly on the voltage finance hack. So this hack, it was a compound related hack. So I think if you have ever been developing Solidity contract, you would know about reentrancy issues. So this is a hack due to reentrancy. But the problem and how they did is like, this is a voltage finance is a fork of the compound, but it was fine in compound because the compound never interact with, I would say, like weird ERC20 tokens. So there are some kind of ERC, I mean, they're not really ERC20, they are following ERC, probably another protocol, but then they have a hookback functions. So whenever they're receiving the tokens or they're sending the tokens. So this allows, those kind of protocols allows the tokens to be reentrant to other protocols. But then in the compound, they have a governance process. So they do a due diligence for all the integrated tokens to put on their pools, where, a lot of fork wouldn't do the same. They would probably fork the code and then they just put it and they just start to run it. So that was the main issue here. So this team, like they forked the compound code, but they didn't follow, or they might not know, like they actually have other security operational process to help mitigate some of their risk. So without knowing that, they come up with this kind of hack because they allows integration with those kind of more unstandard tokens. And so in this case, what we helped was like, we had a lot of our clients that's working on compound fork as well. So when we realized this, we immediately, I think, well, during that period, there are more than this. I think there are another few hacks with the same issue. So we immediately alerted like the people or the teams where we know they're using the compound fork as well. And we help like at least 2 of them to avoid this problem from happening on their protocol. Although another probably 13 was fine. Yeah. So that was how we sort of help out on our past clients and how some of the, past exploit, and we try to learn from them. However, we're living in the present world, and we have to, as a security firm, we have to continuously improve ourselves to be able to catch up with the newest things and to catch up with like the newest hack, because they always come up with new ways to attack. So to do this, within our company, we're doing a monthly hack roundup. So we have engineers every month. We actually will try to look at what happened during the past month, how many dollars were lost, and we try to understand and learn like those things, how those hack happens and how can we prevent it from happening again. So one very interesting one is like deforce. It is again reentrancy attack, but this time a little different. It's a view reentrancy attack. So a typical reentrancy attack, you have a state change, and before you finish in all the transactions, you go back to the function again. That's how you start the attack. But in here, the view reentrancy attack, usually a view function in Solidity, you won't be able to mutate the state. So what it does is it's actually calling another function that would change the result of the view function. And then when you're integrating with this protocol, if you're calling the view function, you'll get a wrong value, and that's how they attack it. And usually it happens for like for those functions that's providing the price for liquidity pool tokens. So for instance, if you're integrating with Curve and you want to know like how the Curve LP tokens price would be, you might call one of their functions to get the price of LP token. But these functions could be gamed in the reentrancy way, because as you can imagine, how you would calculate the LP price, it will be like you have a pool with 2 tokens, so you'll be like how many tokens of token A is in the pool and how many tokens of token B is in the pool, and times their market price divided by the total balance or total supply of your LP tokens. That's how you will calculate like how each LP token would have its own value or what the price it is. And during the reentrancy, for instance, if you are, let's say, withdrawing the liquidity, then when you're withdrawing liquidity first, you will burn the LP token because you're sending the LP token back to trying to get your original token from the pool. So you will burn the LP token. This part is probably fine. It's probably hard to reentrance. But then when they're sending back the original tokens, then this part could potentially trigger the reentrancy. When they send back, they can trigger the reentrancy. Then in this part, you have 3 variables. One is like the token A, token B, and the LP token. The token B is still not changed yet. So you will have a round formula in here if it's reentrance. And you can reentrance the integrated protocol where it would get a round value. So you will be calculating the round value of your LP token, then everything could be wrong depending on how you integrate it with it. So that's one very interesting attack that we've seen. Although like this specific vulnerability has probably been announced like around a year on Curve, but depending on the protocol, they might not be aware of it. Another very interesting takeaway we get from this kind of monthly hack Roundup is we realize sometimes the hacker or the attacker might not have an exit plan. So they're very smart. They come up with a plan to attack you, but they didn't come up with a plan how do they withdraw those money out to real life. So I think like one time we see a hack, and the hacker are actually using their own ENS that's probably linked to their Twitter account. So I think after 2 or 3 days, like the guy was arrested after that, just because like he didn't really do too much effort on that part. And also like a lot of tokens like for instance like USDT, like they can immediately blacklist your address if you didn't try to mix it up to another address fast enough. So that's another interesting takeaway we get from our monthly hack Roundup. Besides of that, we also have restart retreat, which in Japanese we kind of call it like shugyo. So we try to log ourselves for a week in probably, I mean, in real life, it's been hotel. It wouldn't really be in the temple, but we try to log ourselves in a hotel. And for that way, we were just discussing about like, what are some, for instance, like what some potential hacks for some kind of new ecosystems or for new kinds of architectures. What are some of the weakness? And this, or sometimes we just discuss like what are some new tools. So for instance, I think for next one, we'll probably be discussing about how we can use ChatGPT to do our audit, potentially. So we get it generated a lot of our talks or our papers from this. And so for instance, like we had last 2 years, we discussed about like what kind of potential hacks could be happening on bridges. Because actually a lot of bridges nowadays are still pretty centralized. Not sure if people are aware of this. And even not centralized, like they're still like how bridge handles reorg. Usually they didn't really handle it very well. So we realized this after we do the research. Another thing last year we did was like we're reviewing all the raw systems. And usually people, when they come to raw, they'll think, oh, it's a layer 2, it should be very decentralized. But then because of their sequencer are usually still nowadays, I think it's improving, but it's still centralized sequencer. And they don't have a very decentralized way for them to exit from the layer 2 if they indeed have some issue for the sequencer. So that was another research we were trying to do, and then we also have a short paper for that as well. So these are the things we do try to keep ourselves up to date. aside from that, we also try, usually when people come to us, you feel like we are third party. We are a bit farther a distant away from you guys. But there are times we try to actually be more, like integrated to your your protocols. For instance, like in the Clayton, which is a blockchain itself. Not sure if people know that. I think it's from Korea, so it's probably more popular there. And we actually try to stake and try to join their governance. So we try to be part of them. And we also run our own validation nodes for them to secure the network. And this helps us as well, though, so we learn more knowledge. And that's how we can get more deals. And get more deals, we learn more knowledge, and we can use it as a good cycle to improve ourselves. So as our missions is to secure the future of Web3. So we not only try to do those things, we also help train new talents. Because in the future, it will be a new generation that's working on the blockchain space, or even the AI with blockchain space, perhaps. So we have engineering helping this. For instance, like before we work with like a DeFi talent, I think it's a program that's trying to train like new engineers working on DeFi platforms. So we have like a biweekly call with them, trying to share some of our knowledge and try to share like some of potential career paths with them. We also have an engineer currently teaching in like a university in Taiwan. So he have a I'm not sure it's a blockchain or DeFi course, but he have a course there. It's a full semester course, and I look at their agenda. It's pretty deep. I think it's from 101 blockchain 101 to all the way to like very, very complex DeFi contracts. Yeah. So that's how we're trying to help in this industry. And so far our product our service has been helping to secure before launch. That's why we do audit. So we help to ensure your quality before you're deploying your contract. Or although like a lot of clients deploy their contract and then after a while they come to us, that's another story. But usually our security, we usually help before you deploy. But we are also trying to see how can we actually continuously helping our people to help secure them further on, because it's an ongoing game. It's not things that you finish after deployment. So we have a subsidiary called TrendProof, and they're trying to provide sort of like a guarantee, like an Apple Care. So whenever you have an audit and we're happy with your quality, then we can potentially give you this kind of guarantee, which in the future, if some exploit does happen and we didn't catch it during our audit, then we will be able to refund you into a certain degree. And also we will provide a continuous monitoring service. That's where we would be able to alert them like, hey, I think this is weird. You probably want to take action to pause your contract or to do certain actions within probably like an hour, to try to mitigate the loss of your exploit. So yeah, so that's what we're trying to do in the future and continuously improving this. So that's pretty much it. Thank you, everyone. Any questions?
What's the name?
Oh, it was called DeFi Talents, but I think it was a bit weird, like a bit years ago. Yeah, we had another course, but that's on like the university inside the university, so it's probably not online. Yeah.
So it's possible use chat.
I think not yet. It will provide, I tried, like it will provide certain insight, but it's still a lot. First, like it has a lot of false positive, and it sometimes doesn't really fully understand it as well. So I wouldn't say yes right now, but given the current status, I think, yeah, probably after years, it will. And we need to figure out how we're gonna survive.
What in your mind is the most ingenious hack you've seen?
Oh, that's a good question. The most ingenious one. Well, so one of the recent one, it's not really ingenious. I think it's not like they use certain things that's super brilliant, but one hack I used to see, like they just find one line of bug. I mean, a lot of hack is like that actually. So I found that that's very interesting because they have to spend so many effort on actually looking their contracts, and they don't even know which one would have issues, right? So I probably don't want to name the exploit itself, but then I used to see one, and then it's really just one issue that's because of the mapping. So when you're mapping, then usually you wouldn't map like a zero key, right? You wouldn't have like a dictionary zero equals blah blah blah. But somehow, like during the previous deployment, they accidentally deploy the value to that mapping slot. Although in the later deployment, they never used that. So people forgot about it. But then the hacker realized that and then used that as a hack to get a fee. Yeah, so that one was very interesting. And then even worse was like everybody can copy the hack. So that at that time, like there's a transaction there, and then people just copy paste their transaction, probably change their address, and then just boom, and the next hack happened, and then boom, boom, boom. So it's originally it was one attacker, and then it becomes a public attack on the world. Yeah. Cool. I guess if no more questions, then that's it. Thanks everyone.